Charles D. Smith and a New York Knicks 2026 championship. I wasn't on the team, but they were champions, and I just felt it. So I like talking to champions. And we got a champion today, Delina Black. Delina does myofascia and other things. I like myofascia because I had an injury, and it really helped. We'll talk about that. But she's been in the business for 30 years. She works on everybody, but has a special heart for the babies. How did she get into it? She had to help her son, and we'll get into that too. Delina, welcome to Undiscovered Gems. We're glad to have you on the show.
Hi, it's nice to be here. I'm glad to get to talk with you.
Great. So let's start off. You're in Texas. How did you get into this industry?
Well, in '95, when I went to massage school, I had pain. It hurt to breathe deep. It was an injury back from when I was 8 years old. I had a horse injury, and I always was trying to figure out there's got to be something that can help me feel better. And it's not
Hmm.
normal to hurt when you take a deep breath. So, massage school came up because I always was wanting to, was always interested in helping people feel better. And after being an EMT, I decided that just wasn't really what I wanted to do. So, massage school popped up and I jumped for it. And it was like the light bulb moment when it was like, this is what I'm called to do. This is my
Wow,
passion.
nice. Um, Now, explain to the audience what you do in the proper terminology. Am I saying it right? Myofascia?
Myofascial, and I also do craniosacral fascial therapy. So it's combining craniosacral therapy with myofascial, which gets great results combining those two great therapies together. And then I do
Great.
smart therapy also.
So what is myofascia? What is it?
Fascia is the thin layer over our muscles, and it intertwines with our muscle tissue. It makes up all of the organs. There's like, if you picture saran wrap and you pull the corner of it and it ripples, a lot of times where we hurt is not where the problem is coming from. So it could be an old injury, it could be a surgical scar, it could be a broken bone, and that's going to cause problems somewhere else in the body. So I always like to say we don't like to chase the pain. We want to find the source of the problem.
Nice. Great. And you said you started with, you got into it working on your son. What was that experience?
He was having trouble reading, and I thought, and they were saying that teachers that he was with at the time thought he was having problems hearing. And I thought, let's jump into craniosacral and get him some sessions and see if that helps. And when he took his test for speech and hearing, he was fine and didn't have any issues. And then later on, we did discover that he had dyscalculia and dysgraphia and auditory processing and
Mm.
dyslexia. Sorry, I'm leaving dyslexia out of that too. That's the word that I meant to use.
Oh,
And now
right.
he
Yeah.
just
Big
turned
piece.
15 and he doesn't have any issues with reading anymore. So it's been amazing watching how this therapy's helped him.
Wow. No, that's a great story. Um, Now you are in massage school. How does a massage school uh, parlay you into doing myofascia and other things?
I had a fabulous teacher that talked about fascia. So we were learning about that in '95. And she was a really big advocate for learning as much as we could and to go beyond just the basic massage and Swedish. And so that was my introduction was through her, and just wanted to continue on. And I love seminars. I'm constantly doing seminars. There's always something to learn.
Right, right. And so working and actually using your hands, massaging people, you said it's a layer. The fascia is a layer
Uh,
right up under the muscle.
it's under the muscle and actually covers our organs are made up of fascia. So really, it's like a thin sheet from head to toe. Like I work with a lot of tongue-tied babies and adults, and we actually have pictures of what the tongue tie looks like connecting to the toes. So it's really everything in the body exists within the fascial web. So it's really hard to get away from fascia.
Hmm. So how do we damage it? What happens, and when it's damaged, what does it do to the muscle or the skin? What happens there?
Well, it can tighten down. So, like if you have a concussion or a tailbone injury or birth trauma, so a lot of the babies I see are having birth trauma.
Mm.
That dural tube and the fascia around the dural tube, which is in the spinal cord, it tightens down and gets tight. So, if we have a tight system, that's affecting the fascia and the nervous system too.
So when you have a tight fascia, does it, like you said, saran wrap, does it tighten around the muscle and make it tighter?
Yes, it can. It's like that garden hose theory. When you squeeze that garden hose, the water's not going to come out as well, or it stops it. So it also
Mm.
inhibits lymphatic flow and circulation. And anytime that there's a surgical scar involved, as that's healing, it tightens up and kind of shrinks because it's got to form that scar tissue. And a lot of times the fluid doesn't flow through that as well. It's kind of like a dam in the system. And that's where the scar therapy comes in. That's really great, is to break that up and get that to where it's as close to back to normal as possible that we can get after a surgery.
Right. Now, I remember an injury I had. I think I mentioned it to you. Now
Uh-huh.
I'm understanding because you said it's a layer between the skin and the muscle. So it makes
Right.
sense
Yeah.
that the person who was treating me just put their hands on top of my skin and just dragged it and held it, just to, I guess, stretch the saran wrap.
Yes.
That's what it seems like after your explanation, and that's a good analogy. Now I
Yeah.
see how it healed after all these years because I didn't know. Now, how does technology play into the industry at all? Does it have an impact on what you do?
It does because technology, people using their phones, sitting at computers, can all affect posture. And in posture, you get that forward head syndrome. The ears are going forward. They say for every inch that the eye sockets are forward, you're adding 10 pounds to the head. So if you're 3 inches forward, that's like a 45-pound head for most people. And then that
Really?
actually affects the breathing and airway. So it's shortening that airway, which is a problem because we need as much oxygen to the cells and brain as possible.
Right. Wow. Okay, so let's move on to the brain. You said you did cranial work.
Yeah,
Explain that.
the craniosacral. So we look at all, we learn about all the bones, and we have, again, we've got fascia surrounding the brain. And so anytime we have a head injury or car wrecks, any type of injury. So I always like to ask about injuries first in surgeries, but then going back to the birth trauma, if those cranial bones are not aligned exactly the way they're supposed to be, that can put pressure on the brain and on the nervous system and the rest of the body. So we're actually, craniosacral is a very light technique. It's a very light, like think of we always use the nickel as a reference to weight. And
Mhm.
for all the years that I've done deep tissue, because that was a huge request, and it still is for a lot of people that like deep tissue, when they come in for craniosacral, they're really shocked at how much they change and shocked that the therapy is so light and that they feel so different. But it doesn't, we kind of, a lot of people out there think no pain, no gain, but we really don't want that in the craniosacral world of therapy. We want light, and we want the body to feel safe and not trigger that fight or flight. Because as soon as that fight or flight is triggered, the body's in defense mode and we're working against each other.
And defense mode meaning that it tightens up.
Yes, it can tighten up when you're on the table. If someone's like got their elbow into you and digging into the glutes and or the shoulders, and it hurts, and you're about to pinch bite your tongue, you really don't want that level
Right.
of pressure. So a
Right.
lot of
Now,
the are learning to lighten up instead of go deeper.
are you familiar with Rolfing?
Yes, yes. And Rolfing
When you
started out very painful back in the day. They've lightened up too. A lot of them have lightened up in their approach too.
Yeah. So when you mentioned, getting into the deep tissue, I remember getting some Rolfing, and there was no oil, cream, nothing, just right into the joints and the muscles. And
Uh-huh.
yes, I tightened up. It was painful at times. Yes, I'm not going to say
Yeah.
it wasn't painful. It was, Delina, it was painful. So
Right.
now, uh, working on the babies,
Hmm.
how do you go about doing it? I mean, are we talking about newborns,
Yes.
toddlers?
Right. Yeah, all ages. So the youngest baby I've worked on was 2 hours old. It was a home birth, and
Oh,
I worked on her previous twins, and so that's how she knew me. So we had this set up way in advance, and I was very fortunate to be close by and to be able to get there within 2 hours and work on the baby. So birth trauma. When I talk about birth trauma, one of the babies, we're seeing more and more babies, which is surprising to me in this day and age. They're being delivered with forceps and vacuum again. And I had one baby I worked on one summer, a couple summers ago, that was born forceps. Well, it was failed forceps, failed vacuum. Taken, mom was taken in for a C-section, and the baby had a skull fracture. And so, when you have a traumatic birth like that, we really need to see the babies as soon as possible to be able to get that stress and trauma off the baby, and that way the baby can grow up and be less, like we see a lot of babies that get labeled fussy, or they hate their car seats. Those are two big red flags, and we really want to see those babies to be able to get that trauma off of them to where they can be happy, because we don't have to have fussy screaming babies all the time. I see them change in my office, and the parents are like, oh my gosh, I feel like I went home with a new baby. And we don't have to suffer with that and be miserable as a family, because it impacts everybody that's having to deal with that screaming baby. It's not fun.
right. Absolutely, it's not fun. Now, when you work on the babies, when we talked about before on top of the skin, do you like
Uh-huh.
stretch their little joints in their arms? And
Yeah,
I mean,
I
like,
use.
do you ever do like a full body male fascial treatment to a baby?
Yes, I spend an hour with babies, and usually we're focusing on the cranial bones. So if anyone's familiar with plagiocephaly, that's the flat spot in the cranium. Some of those babies are usually being referred to be fitted for helmets. And I have a chiropractor in town that loves to send her babies to me before they go get fitted for helmets. And a lot of times we can get them helped before they have to have that, and
Mhm.
keep them out of the helmets. So the shape of the cranial bones, um, if there's strabismus, where there's cross eye, a lot of times we can help that.
Oh wow.
Um, Frontal bones, just different shape. A lot of times the ears, you see the ears will be kind of pushed out, and then the back of the head will be flat. And so I work with that a lot too. Seen some amazing cases over the years.
Hmm.
But the craniosacral part of the therapy is very light, and so we work the head, the spine, and the legs and hips, and just make sure the whole body is loose and not rigid and tight. And some of the parents have babies that flip over early, and they think, oh, my baby's strong, or they're doing abs. They're doing their little head pulling up and curling in, and their abs are really tight. But that's a tight system that needs to be addressed in the baby.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah,
So
we don't. Uh, we, when I look at what you do, you're
uh-huh.
doing the myofascia, you're doing the cranial work, and there was one other that you talked about early on that you
the
do
scar
also.
the scar
Excuse
therapy and
me?
concussion. The scar
Right.
therapy, yeah,
Scar therapy. Now, that's sort of, to me, self-explanatory, but we'll talk about that.
right.
You mentioned the different things that go on with, cross-eye, different things. Does myofascia work with children or people with ADHD?
Yes, yes. And actually, I collaborate with a lot of airway dentists. And a lot of times with ADHD, we're seeing the airway is compromised, and it's actually sleep apnea versus ADHD. So anyone who's listening that has been diagnosed as ADHD, I would definitely invest in a sleep study and make sure it's not truly sleep apnea versus ADHD.
So some people with ADHD, when you say sleep apnea, they don't
Hmm.
sleep long hours. Is that sleep apnea? They sleep in
Yes,
short bursts. Is that?
yeah, they wake up often. You could in the child, you could see it show up as bedwetting. Behavioral issues could be associated with sleep apnea. Um, the snoring. If you have a baby or a child that snores, that's another sign to go look into the sleep apnea with an airway dentist.
Interesting. Um, wow, cranial work, I guess, can do so many different things that we just don't know about. That's that's incredible, and I guess it has. I, I keep thinking this saran wrap scenario. Is that the same with the brain? The myofascia is like a
Yeah,
layer. Really?
yeah, we've got that in the brain on the inside of the skull. There's fascia everywhere.
So are there different types of ways that you treat different parts of the brain? Do you know like where to go to treat the fascia for the symptoms?
Yeah, usually it's by feel and trying to listen to the body, which is, that's the big difference. People ask me, what is the difference between a massage and this? And massage therapists, a lot of times we listen to symptoms and then we think, oh, we're going to do this technique and we'll have all these techniques done at the end of it. But with cranial, we really have to have our hands on and listen to what we're feeling, and then go with our intuition of where we feel like that's being impacted in the body. So the
Hmm,
body actually, the treatment plan is in the body. Um,
sure.
so to go in with a treatment plan before we ever touch a body or a client is kind of defeating the purpose of the craniosacral. So it's a big, huge difference between craniosacral and massage therapy. Um, so that's the fun part because I get to play detective every time I work on somebody. It's never the same.
Really? Wow, that's awesome. That does keep it interesting, that's for sure. It
Yeah,
does.
I've got it's like I don't know what I'm doing. If I have a client come in, it's like I know their symptoms, I know their history, but it's like I don't have a treatment plan until I sit down and we start working, and it's like, okay, this is what needs to be done.
Right,
And it's trying to listen to them and listen to my intuition of where I feel like it's coming
right.
from feel.
Delina, one of the things that the older or aging generation goes through now, I think more so now than before, is knee replacements and hip replacements. And when I heard you
Yeah,
say scar tissue, that's what I thought of. Now, I'm not one that has any, and I hope I never have any, but when people get that done, the first thing the doctors want to do is make sure there's no scar tissue, right?
right.
So if someone,
Yeah,
and I'm sure there's a lot of people in the audience that have scar tissue or don't know that they have scar tissue on their knees.
right.
How do you treat
Uh-huh.
that? What do you do specifically with tools, your hands? What do you do to get to that scar tissue?
Well, I work with the fascia and work that scar and manipulate it, but I also do microcurrent, which is 2 units that we have to have you 2 units to do scars, and I'll work the ends, the sides, and then cat a corner each side, and then tie that in with acupuncture points in the ankles that help that scar uh, recollab- recollaborate back to, or repolarize is the word I'm looking for, repolarize back to normal as much as possible.
Hmm.
And I got into that when I had a C-section because I had excruciating back pain and hip pain after having my son. Um, and that was a huge, that scar tissue is huge in my world because it changed my pain level like nothing else did. And I got chiropractic, I got massage therapy, deep tissue, all different kinds of therapy done when during my pregnancy and after my pregnancy with him, and the scar tissue with the microcurrent was amazing.
Hmm. Wow. Yeah. So can people fare well or better? Women that get tummy tucks and plastic surgery and different things, they always have to be concerned about the scar and the scar tissue. So
Right.
they bring in, a expert plastic surgeon to take care of the scar, right?
Right.
I
Hmm.
know the scar's got to be stitched, but is there any place for you at that time where somebody can come out and be in a better position?
Yes, the healing is going to be significantly better having the therapy done. And like I had a lady that had a nose job, and her plastic surgeon was amazed at how fast she healed on her first return visit back for a checkup. The staff was like, "We've never seen someone heal this fast,"
Hmm.
and it was because what she was doing at home. She was a nutritionist, and because she was getting therapy before and after, like immediately after her surgery, she popped in and saw me several times, and so it speeds up the healing.
So,
That's the good thing.
Delina, what do you actually do? What are you doing? If someone's coming to see you, they got a scar
Uh-huh.
across their belly. What are you actually doing in the healing process?
Using the first, I'll use the microcurrent because that's not as invasive, and I can treat a scar a lot earlier with the microcurrent units versus um, my hands.
So,
And a lot of times, if
explain to
yeah,
the
if you've ever
audience what a microcurrent
uh-huh.
unit is. What is it? A
Okay,
pin? Is it
so yes, it looks like two big pins, and that's how I hold them, is like pins, and
you're holding them like
it's
this?
not
Two
like
pins?
tin,
Okay.
yeah, like pins, and it's not like it's microcurrent, but it's not the same kind of microcurrent as TENS unit is. A lot of people are familiar with the TENS units.
Yes.
It's a healthier version of the TENS unit. The frequency is different. It's supposed to be healthier for the body than the TENS unit. So that's it was created by an acupuncturist, and that I use that on pretty much all scars, all concussions. Use it on vagus nerve, but that's what I'm using on scars, so I can get to that scar a lot faster, and I don't have to wait till it's completely healed and wait till doctor's orders to say it can be physically manipulated.
Right.
And it's a lot less than being physically manipulated.
Interesting. Well, I know there's a lot of people that will hear that, and that is
Yeah,
definitely some information that a lot of people don't have. And every
right.
person wants their scar to be healed nicely, and almost not to have a scar. And
Yes,
and
yeah.
it sounds like the micro.
Yeah, because a lot of people,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, a lot of my clients have, they'll have numbness for years, and that's the bonus is it doesn't matter how old the scar is, and it doesn't matter how old the concussion is or how many concussions you've had. We can work with that. So that's a beautiful thing that we can get to it even if it's 20 years old or older. So we can still make a difference.
Really? So if someone's had numbness for 5 years after their surgery, you can actually get the nerve
Yeah,
endings back in touch with each other, and they can feel like, how
right.
you rub over a scar and it's numb. You're saying you can get that
Yeah.
feeling back.
uh, yeah, we can get feeling back.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
You know, tell us about an amazing situation you've had with a client where the client was just
With
amazed, that's surprised, and give us a story.
Okay. Okay. So I've got two that come to mind. I had one lady who came to me for massage therapy, and she told me on her intake form and then told me verbally, do not touch my foot because I have a scar and I can't stand for it to be touched. Of course, I'm going to ask, okay, explain to me what happened. She was in a car wreck for 15 years prior. And for 15 years, she could not stand for anyone to touch her foot. She couldn't even stand to get pedicures.
Hmm.
And I told her, I said, well, I have the microcurrent units that I can work on the scar, and explained it to her. And I let her know that if you don't like it, I'll stop. All you got to do is tell me.
Wow.
And so she agreed to let me do the scar therapy on her. And And I did it, and then immediately sat and massaged her foot for the first time in 15 years. And she was just blown away. She's like, I've never experienced this before. So she was ecstatic, but then she got aggravated after a few days because she thought, I've gone 15 years and no one ever told me about this.
Wow.
But so hopefully there's a lot of people out there that hear this and they'll go, hey, there's a solution. We don't have to deal with this. Another, I have a 10-year-old that was in a bobsled accident, and had a skull fracture. And his mom found me because after he healed, he started having issues with different spots in his brain was just nonstop itching.
Wow.
They couldn't get it to stop. The neurologist didn't have any answers for it. And then there was other parts of his brain and his head that he would touch, and then he couldn't feel it. So she started bringing him to me for craniosacral and the microcurrent, and the itching stopped, and he got full feeling back on his skull and on his head. So he's doing great. He's a cute little boy.
Wow. Well, Delina, our show is quickly coming to a close. It went really fast, and I can talk to you for an hour. I mean, you have so much. I got to give you your chance. Tell the audience, give them something to leave the show with.
Okay. So I got into therapy because I, as a kid, was in a horse accident and had rib pain, and it hurt to take a deep breath. And so from the age of 8 to 23, I was always told that it was growing pains. I'd outgrow it, and I never did. And massage school and craniosacral and fascial therapy has really gotten me out of pain, and happy to say that I don't have those issues anymore. I enjoy scuba diving, enjoy, a lot of things outside, doing fun stuff with my son. And I saw the beauty of this helping my son too,
Right.
and just changed our world. And the more people that can know about this and know there's alternative safe methods, the better. And just hopefully we'll get that word out there.
Wow, that is incredible. And I want to say that you've been able to provide so much detail to a lot of different issues that we have in our world today that people don't know about. It's one thing, it's your practice and what you do, but it's the deliverables that you give to your clients and patients that they don't know that they can get. And that's the ADHD caught me. That was
oh yeah,
and there was a lot of
it. Yeah, I love what I do. I see so many things. I mean, the treatment plans in the body, and we've got to stop chasing the pain. We got to get to the root of the source.
I have to ask you one more question because you just said it. How do you get to the root of the source when somebody comes to see you? How do you do that?
Listening to their body, listening to what they tell me, their history, and going by intuition and feel during the therapy, and not thinking, like, I don't like the word fix because I can't fix the body. The body has to unwind and fix itself, and the body's able to heal itself. Wow. When given the right environment and the right techniques.
Last question. Is there a spiritual element to what you do?
I believe in God, and I believe God gave me gifts, and that helps a lot.
Wow.
That helps.
Unbelievable. Great interview. I enjoyed it. I think more than you did, given the information. Delina,
thank you.
Professional of the Year. Thank you for coming on Undiscovered Gems and dropping so many gems on our audience. Thank you, and great for having you.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. Right. Good to meet you.
Take care. Bye-bye.